Okay, cool. All right, I think that I'm just going to talk a little bit here and about how I moved to why I moved to Mexico. Uh, I moved from Barbados. It's a little bit different of a culture than there. When I was in Barbados and in St. Vincent, it was all right, but there wasn't a whole lot to do there. It was beautiful, but the culture was not really what I was used to, and growing up in the United States and around Latin people and stuff like that. I thought I was a little more comfortable. I would be a little more comfortable in Mexico. And so that's when I was offered the job in Acapulco, which was absolutely different. Now, it wasn't so hard for me because it was just a 6-month visa that you get here. As soon as you get in, you don't have to worry about anything. I was surprised how little they checked. And it was actually very easy. I just had a suitcase and I showed up and I got the job to start working at that hotel. So it was really an easy transition for me. And then since then, I've helped other people that have, been more involved. Okay, so we got a few people more on here. We're still planning on the next summer. Okay, great. Thanks everybody for joining on there. We're still trying to figure this out how to get, but it looks like we do have some viewers. But anyways, Jonathan took a more correct approach. He actually planned it out and stuff like that. So we actually wrote an article together. It was kind of an interview about how he moved to Mexico. If there's any specific questions that you have, feel free to put that in the chat, or if there's any comments or anything like that, and please do that. And I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to say anything about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send a link to invite the other people that are in the Borderless Society membership so they can actually join the call. And again, please let us know if there's any glitches, if something doesn't look right, or you're not able to chat in or something like that. So okay. I don't know. If
I mean, I can talk for a minute here. I can just talk about, first of all, like why Mexico, and then why San Miguel de Allende. And by the way, we're not getting any kickbacks from the local Convention and Visitors Bureau or anything, but I can only say a couple of things about why Mexico, because I really don't know Mexico that well. James, you've been around a lot. I visited a couple of border towns years ago. I've been to Oaxaca. I love that. And, some cities within an hour and a half or so drive of San Miguel. But I can't say the simple reasons why, for me, Mexico ended up making sense was the proximity to the U.S. If you're somebody who will want to go and visit the U.S. from time to time, well, it's good not to have to be on multiple flights that total, 23 hours flying time or something. So that was good. But also for me, a matching time zone to the U.S. My clients are largely in the U.S. and a lot of times I have to interact with them. A lot of times we do phone voiceover sessions. And so, it's good not to have to wake up super, super early to do that, or in the middle of the night or something like that. So that's why Mexico for me. But then that kind of leads into why San Miguel de Allende. For me, when I started looking at my list, I was looking at weather as being a primary thing. I'm originally born in Detroit, lived in northeastern Michigan for 10 years, stayed in Michigan for years, was in Southern California for a year and a half, Arizona for 8 years. And I really liked the somewhat drier climate in Arizona. I like it to be warmer than the state I was born in, which was nuts. And so, I was looking at a few different places. New Zealand looked like it had, nice temperatures. Central Chile looked like it did. And this town in the high desert of central Mexico, San Miguel de Allende. I read a lot of articles written by Jim Carger, and he made it sound very appealing. I looked at the weather stats and I said, all right, that's an option. So just to be clear about the weather, all right, throughout the year, the month with the highest average high temperature is 87. And the month with the lowest high temperature is 73. I love that. So even at the worst, you can still expect on average it's going to get up to 73. Nighttime lows, 8 months out of the year, it's in the 50s. I consider that great sleeping weather. The other 4 months, it does dip down into the 40s. So it's also, not humid here. It's quite reasonably. The humidity is, I mean, I'm not saying it's like Arizona. It's not. It's a little higher than that, but it doesn't get humid. And so, even in the mornings when it might be a little more humid than the rest of the day, well, the temperature's nice and low, So, getting messages from clients here. Sorry. So, I mean, you can deal with that. Another reason why San Miguel de Allende, it's just a beautiful town. There's something about the character of this town. I mean, it's beautiful. All you have to do is read articles or look at pictures. It's one of the original Spanish colonial cities, from what I've read. Originally built in the 1500s. So it reminds you of walking through like old world Europe, like you're walking through Spain or something. The narrow cobblestone streets. There's just amazing character. I personally had never been to a town like this. So it's just really, really cool, and I like that. But I mean, it also offers it's an expat town. And there are some people who don't like that. They at least claim, oh, I don't want to be around a bunch of gringos. Okay, fine. If that's how you are, well, this is not the city for you. I've seen estimates that the non-Mexican population here, the expat population, is somewhere between 10 and 15% of the total population. That could be correct. And I've seen a recent update to the population that it could be in the vicinity of 130, 135,000 total. When the fact that there are a lot of expats here is probably a good reason why there are so many cool restaurants and bars and things like that, and cool little stores everywhere. I mean, it has injected a lot of money into the community, and it's been good for the people here. And I'm sure there are exceptions, but I don't seem to sense a lot of, pissed off people from Mexico here because there are a bunch of expats here. It seems to me that they appreciate. Of course, it's been a very, very long time. It's like Jim Carger brought out in one of his articles. There's nobody alive today in San Miguel who remembers a time when there weren't a lot of Americans and Canadians, coexisting with them. So people. Okay, I keep getting these messages from my client. Can you talk a minute, James? I got to deal with her because she's just going to keep texting me.
Sure, no problem. All right, well, we've had a good amount of people that have joined here, so let me just give a shout out to, I already said hi to Mike. We've got others. So some people planning on moving next summer. Yeah, I understand with, this chat wing thing. I've been told that the chat on YouTube is very bad and Google Plus, and that this chat wing is better, and that's what a lot of people like to use. And I realize, a lot of people don't want to log in with Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, but I'm trying to find a good option there. Like I said, please in the chat, let us know. This is our first live event, so I want to make sure that it's working well. We're talking about something that we can kind of talk about off the cuff here today is, moving to Mexico, why we moved to Mexico. But we're going to be doing some other things with different guests and stuff like that. Now, we do have a question that it is, if I move to SMA with a vehicle, 10 years old, mid-sized SUV, will I need to garage or secure it at night at all? So no, you do not need to garage or secure it at all. When there is a centro area in San Miguel de Allende, which is, it does, especially during weekends, it has a lot of traffic. They're very narrow roads. And so I wouldn't really recommend having a nice car and parking it somewhere in Centro. But for instance, where me and Jonathan are right now, it's there's large, the roads are pretty wide, and you're not going to have any problems with that. There's not a lot of break-ins or anything like that. If anything, it might just be, especially when it's very narrow roads, somebody kind of going by your car. Maybe scratch it accidentally one day or something like that. I have had somebody like hit my rearview mirror off one day on one of these little roads. So you have to remember to push that in. But the subject of cars, bringing your cars down, is something that a lot of people ask about. And I bought my car here. If you buy, they had because of the laws in Mexico that they've just recently changed, it's getting harder to have an American car here. It's much easier to buy a car here that's already plated in Mexico. And there's a whole process. You can get it nationalized. And well, Jonathan, you could probably speak
Sure.
more about that, some of the headaches that's caused you. So.
Well, And this is it's good to throw out there that there are going to be a lot of people who live here who tell you don't bring a car. James and I have obviously decided that it makes sense to have a car. I like to have it mainly because, I do take it into Centro during the week when it's not too busy. I try almost never to do it on the weekends, especially busy weekends. And there's a lot of busy weekends here because traffic is hell, and parking is hell. But during the week, it's cool. It's also cool if we want to take a trip. Cecilia and I will go head off to Querétaro or Celaya or one of these little cities around here. And it's very nice to have it for that reason. It's so funny. I can remember asking people who lived here when I was moving all these questions, and they didn't seem to know. And I'm like, well, why don't you know? Don't you live there? Well, I got to admit to you guys, I forget this shit. So my apologies. I brought down my Acura, which was reasonably well. Now it's 5 years old, but when I wish that I'd made another decision. I wish that I'd sold my Acura in the States, and I wish I'd bought kind of something like James has. What year is your CRV, James?
I have a 2004 CRV, and for especially for this town, because the thing is in San Miguel de Allende you have cobblestone roads everywhere you go, and it's it's not all very even. Also, you have big topes or speed bumps that people put everywhere, and so it does help to have a car that's a little bit higher. So I have a 2004 CRV, which is great.
Yeah, his CRV, and by the way, which is for sale for anybody. It's perfect, I think, because I don't think you want anything too big, because it's just going to make it really hard to park in some areas of Centro. And I don't think you want it too low. My Acura is too low, and I got to be very careful when I go over by the way, these speed bumps, these are used not just as an effort to get people to slow down. They're used in place of traffic signals in a lot of places, and it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes sense to have those than a bunch of traffic lights everywhere. But, I don't recommend like a very nice new car. You're going to bang it up a little bit, even when you're careful, you're going to bang it up. And like when you go to park against curbs, you're not going to have these sweet, soft little areas that kind of kiss up against your tires. It's going to go, you're going to like, fuck, what did I just do? I did not have trouble getting my car in. I don't remember how much I had to pay, but I did have to stop at the border on my way down, and I had to go through some process. I don't remember what it cost. I don't think it was $200. I got a sticker that went on my windshield. Now, I'll be honest with you. I thought that I was going to have to go through this great big process to nationalize it. Well, I don't. As long as I have my resident card, I'm told that I'm legal. My car is legal, and I'm legal to drive down here. So I don't know, maybe after some years when the car gets to be a certain age or something like that, you have to, anyway, that's something that we've got all sorts of friends that can, if you really have those questions. What I would say to the question that they asked specifically is, where is it now? If I move to SMA with a vehicle, 10-year-old mid-size SUV, sounds like a perfect vehicle for this town. Will I need to garage or secure it at night or at all? That depends on where you move. Some people like to live right in Centro. If you're going to live right in Centro, well, you might have to make some arrangement like that. It depends on the place that you rent. Start looking at places, or buy or whatever you plan to do. There are places with car spaces, and usually I think, James, it's probably true that you have to pay for those car spaces, right? Or it's figured into your rent. And if it isn't figured in, you're going to have to find some place to secure it. Now, we live in an area that's about 1.5 miles to 2 miles outside of Centro, and there's just no issues here. You can park on the street very safely. I happen to have a carport that I'm able to, I have a little remote, and it opens up these doors, and I pull in, and that's my space, So there are places like that, but most people here just park on the street with no trouble. Depends on where you're renting. So it makes it kind of hard. I wish I could say yes or no to that, but it depends on where you're going to be staying.
Okay, thanks. I think that's pretty helpful. But yeah, definitely the idea of bringing a car down, I think that was Jonathan's definitely a major regret, but might be your only regret, right? Of the problems that you had. Oh,
sure. Yeah. And, now that I think about it, I don't know. I wish that I had gotten kind of an older, like, what does he call it? A 10-year-old mid-size SUV. I think that would be perfect for this town. You know, you're up above the tope, so you don't have to worry about bottoming out, and it's not too huge that you're going to have trouble with parking. So yeah, I wish I'd done something like that. You know, I am glad I have my car for trips. I think, you know, I bought this land. If I, you know, my land is out in the country, I won't have any issue with that. But I think it would be nice to have a second vehicle, and I would get a mid-size SUV that's not too old, so that I can, you know, zip into Centro without worrying about banging it up a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and we got another one. Sorry for looking down here. I'm reading off of the comments, and the whole time I'm looking down, I've been on live here. So anyways, here's another question we have. We are packing now to move to the Chapala area of Mexico. Our challenge is that shippers are not allowed to bring certain items, so eliminates too many things. Those items I am talking about can be brought in by the resident, though, and we have our permanent residency. We also cannot drive in our car. The challenge is to find someone who has a vehicle that can bring in everything we want. We can either share driving or expenses or whatever. Do you have any recommendations? I'm not sure what that's a little complicated.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. Those items I am talking about can be brought in by the resident, though. By what resident? By you mean? Let's see. Our challenge is that shippers are not allowed to bring certain items. I don't know what they mean by that. Let's see. Yeah, you're going to have to clue us in here. This is what I will say, though, about these things in general. You know, again, I remember when I was moving here, I would get somewhat vague answers from people. You know, and the last thing that anybody in our position wants to do, and I know James is very sensitive to this, and I've seen the wisdom, is to make you think that something is really, really super easy, and to have you try it and it doesn't turn out to be that easy. We don't want to disappoint anybody here, because people will do that. But the reality is, if you were to talk to people who've lived here for years, they're going to say, look, there's a way around this. Somebody can help you with this. Don't worry about it. And the fact is, I've found that that's true, you know, but I don't know who you might, you know, Chapala, I don't know who you might be in contact with who can help you. I think I hope that you can find some people in your area that you're moving, some message boards, some people who are there who can answer these questions specifically for the area you're moving in. In my case, I did find a company who I actually now use to order packages through. And they got me across the border for far less than I thought they were going to do it. Now, I did end up paying a few $1,000s. I had to move my studio down here and stuff. I had to get my car across and stuff. But I was looking at some people who were going to charge me upwards of $10,000. And I kept explaining to them, look, if I have to pay $10,000 to move to San Miguel, I'm not moving to San Miguel. You know, there are a lot of people who end up paying nothing or virtually nothing to get it across. They just let them go through. You know, there are a lot of people who have done this. But all I can say is, I don't even know, where is Chapala, James? I can't even remember.
Yeah, so Lake Chapala is out in like Ajijic. It's near Guadalajara, about 25 minutes outside of Guadalajara. So it's really not that far from us, actually, about 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess what I would do is I would ask, you know, like the company that I use here is called Lavinia's Art Framing, and they are the ones who got me across, and maybe they have a contact in the Chapala area who could help you with that, who knows somebody who can deal with getting your stuff across. So let's make sure we answer that question properly. Shippers are not allowed to bring certain items. So I don't know what that means. As we have our permanente residency, okay, we also cannot now drive in our car. I don't get that. I think what they mean is it will be expensive to nationalize it or something. Okay. The challenge is to find someone who has a vehicle that can bring in everything we want. We can either share driving or expenses or whatever. Do you have any recommendations? Well, that's going to end up being some kind of a message board. And just like they have them here, I am sure they have them in the area where you're moving. And you can find some people there who are particularly helpful who've gone through this, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I think that that was answered pretty well. If there's anything we can do to make that, if we didn't answer your question correctly, I think it was Damien, then please put that in the chat, and we'll see if we can answer that a little bit better. I saw that we had another question. It was about bringing gold and silver. Now, I have brought gold. There's a lot of people that are worried about bringing gold and silver into different countries. I personally have brought gold and silver with me into all kinds of countries, all over the place. You know, around $10,000 or less than $10,000, and I've never had any problems whatsoever. Now, that could be changing. I have heard that some people have gotten hassled or something like that, but it is actually, you know, it's legal for you to transport precious metals. It's actually legal for you to transport precious metals over $10,000. You just have to fill out a form, and but there's nothing against that. Now, then I know that there are different tax restrictions and stuff like that, depending on where you're bringing them from and to, and all this type of stuff. But I have personally not had any problems whatsoever with moving my precious metals. So I don't know if you have anything to add with that.
Yeah, my question, I wonder, Damien, are you bringing in more than $10,000 worth of metals? And if so, I wonder if I could buy some from you. No, I'm kidding. Now, you wouldn't want to share that on here, I don't think. But yeah, like James says, what I was told by the people who brought me across is, look, just put your metals in the bottom of your suitcase on top of your clothes. There's going to be so much stuff that they could potentially be checking through. And in my case, I had a truck who was bringing my stuff down, and I was following them in my car. Well, my suitcase was the only thing in my car pretty much. And I just, you know, I put all of my metals in the bottom of my suitcase. Nobody even looked in my car. They were busy looking in the truck. So there wasn't any issue in there. I know this is frustrating. As you start to do this, you're looking for really good, solid answers. And all I can tell you is everybody's going to tell you what we did. Look, you shouldn't have any problem. And that's of no comfort to you. I know. The secret here is going to be wherever it is that you're moving, you know, you're going to have to find people. Damien, I don't know where you're thinking about moving. I used some people who are used to moving stuff back and forth across the border, but who are located here in San Miguel. And they were able to guide me, and everything they said would happen would happen. So I was able to do that without much trouble.
Okay, and it looks like we have Zebra, who was asking about moving things, and he says the decision as of to what or how much to bring is a personal one, and there are many moving parts to it. So bringing in the minimum is not a good decision for everyone across the board. Okay, so they have a lot of things to bring. Jonathan brought a lot of things. I was one of the, all I had was the stuff in my suitcase, and that's how I travel. And I'm a single guy. Well, so is Jonathan. But anyways, yeah, certainly different people are different. You have different reasons that you want to bring. In Jonathan's case, he had a large studio he had to bring with him, so that wasn't an option for him. But he found a way to bring that. So, yeah, that's.
He or she says, I am hoping someone or James Guzman will answer my question. So anyway, it looks like she wanted you to answer it, or he.
So, to be honest, what's funny is that a lot of people, when they're thinking about moving to Mexico, and I have probably done my, concierge service or introduction service to Mexico in Acapulco and here in San Miguel de Allende. I've probably introduced 50 people professionally to Mexico, introduce them to lawyers and let them know how it's going to work. I work for a real estate company, and people would come in town and I would show them, houses, how that's bought and stuff like that. And, the funny thing is that a lot of people are blown away by how actually easy it is. When they come down, normally their first visit is just realizing that it's not as hard as they thought it would be. Whether you come down on a tourist visa or if you want to set up a residency, I would recommend going to a embassy there and getting started, because now you do need to start your residency in the United States. But once you get down there, a lot of the laws as far as buying property is very similar. Renting is very similar. Less use of, there are some things that are different. So there's less use of, obviously they don't use the American credit score system here. It's definitely different. Also, they're not going to give you mortgages in the same way that they would in the United States. They just give it to everybody in the United States with very low interest rates. Here in Mexico, that's not going to be the case. But other than that, I don't know if there's any specific challenges that, that you can think of, Jonathan, that maybe you ran across that you weren't expecting.
Well, the car thing was the big thing for me. Wasn't expecting. No, I mean, the only thing I would do is I would start bringing up things related to, I mean, just culturally, just some of the things you have to get used to here. I mean, customer service is just not going to be what you've come to expect in the U.S., things like that. Okay, look. I get why Zebra was saying the decision as of to what or how much to bring is a personal one. And that's true because Pete Cisco said up there, number one rule, take the absolute minimum with you. But, in my case, okay, the absolute minimum with me was my studio, and that was substantial. So I respect that, Zebra. And my recommendation to you is, well, first of all, I can give you my confidence that someone out there can help you with this. And you need to find someone in your vicinity who can make recommendations on this, because it's not nearly as stringent. The reality is most of the stories that you hear about people coming across the border are that it's usually a lot easier than some of the horror stories that people share with you. But as far as the actual process of getting across the border, I mean, as far as things I didn't expect, I guess it went more smoothly than I imagined. There is this other provision that you can do. They call it the menaje de casa. That's a legal provision whereby you can bring everything in across the border. But I am telling you, the documentation required is absolutely insane. You have to have this. First of all, it costs something like $400. But the idea is if you're moving a lot of stuff across, I mean, you get a pretty good deal. I mean, there's a limit of how many thousands of dollars you can bring across. I don't remember what it is, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, something like that. Supposedly, the value of the stuff you're bringing across, if it's under that, you don't end up paying very much money at all. By comparison, if you were going to pay a duty on like everything.
Yeah, all right, Jonathan, you got your mic. I don't know if it's your mic or you have some sort of, it's like an echo. You're sounding like a robot there. I don't know if there's a maybe plug in, plug out.
Does it still sound like that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Right.
That's a connection issue or something.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll just work itself out. But what I did want to talk real quick about what you were saying and the difference in maybe not just customer service, but also just it's kind of cliche, and I think a lot of people realize that is the American way of doing things as far as business and punctuality and stuff like that. And trust me, I completely understand people's struggle because I'm the same way. I've been involved in different businesses from a young age, and I'm used to being very punctual and stuff like that. And people just seem to have a little bit of a different motivation. And I tell you what, the earlier that you learn to accept that, the easier your life will be, especially when working. A lot of people, if they come, to retire, it's not that big of a deal. They're not looking at doing a lot of things. But if you're someone who wants to buy and sell real estate, wants to get into business and do all these types of things, and you don't understand that, things just move at a different pace. It really is true. Even with a lot of people that you wouldn't, professionals that you wouldn't expect that, lawyers and people like that you're going to have to deal with. It's just it's a lot. You're going to need to learn how to get to know them and learn a little bit of their language and relate to them and chit chat and stuff like that. That is it's a cultural thing, and it is frustrating at times when people don't move as quick as you want to, or don't move at all sometimes, but it's just a fact that you need to learn to live with in most Latin countries also. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, John.
Sure. I mean, I concur with everything James says. It's going to be easier for some people rather than others. I mean, what I notice is, in this town, we've got a lot of older folks. So like I'm 49, maybe I'm older to some of you, but like I'm young compared to, most of the residents here. And it seems like some of them get really, really irritated and pissed off at some of the things you deal with as it relates to customer service here. And then you've got the opposite, which is people who so want to adapt and melt in that they're always talking about how much more superior the Mexicans are to, Americans or Canadians. And it's like, okay, come on, that's not true either. The point is, if you want to be happy here, you're going to have to learn that there's a different modus operandi here. Job talked about this on the podcast not long ago, earlier this year, where he was saying, when you're poor, it's difficult to focus on the future, was the way he looked at it. And I think that ultimately is kind of like it. James, you brought it up from an economic standpoint. There are people with short-term time preference and long-term time preference. And I think in the United States, generally speaking, there's a long-term time preference. A business is usually not going to tell you, I will do this for you, and not do it. And if they do, they're going to be like, oh my God, falling all over themselves, apologizing. Most of them will do that, maybe. But here, if somebody says they're going to do something, it's because, look, they're thinking, I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about right now. Tomorrow may never come. I'm not going to worry about saying I'm going to do something, and if it doesn't happen tomorrow. And because they live in a society like that, they're used to people letting them get away with it. And sometimes that actually includes stuff that, if we're to be honest, is lying. They'll lie to you, and they expect you to be okay with that. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to teach a whole country your culture, or do you want to be a happy person? That's how I would put it. And so there can be some frustrations to that. One of the other things that I've noticed is that, I've talked about this before. It's weird to me, you're walking down the street, and people, from an American perspective or a US perspective, they don't seem to care. It's like they're standing right in the middle of the sidewalk, and you walk up to them and you're like, hello. It's these skinny little streets, you can't really go around them. And then you say, perdón, or you say, con permiso, and they look at you like, oh, there are other people in the universe I share the world with? I didn't realize that. Hello. But the more and more I think about it, I guess, like, from a US perspective, we just think that, I get out of people's way. And my girlfriend Cecilia was like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to hold people up. And there's a little bit more of a focus that. And here, if a person is standing in a particular place, and that means on a street, on a sidewalk, or in a supermarket aisle, their thought is, well, I own this. And it's okay for you to come up on me, but don't expect me to get out of the way. And they're not being assholes about it. I'm telling you. They're very nice, kind, warm-hearted people here, but it's one of those things that I had to get used to. I'm just like, people don't seem to be aware from our perspective that they're in everyone else's way. They just don't care about it. That's one of those funny things I've noticed in living here. But you'll get used to that, I think. Oops, now I'm not hearing you at all, James.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So we talked about some of the challenges there. We've got about 15 minutes left. I don't know if anybody, it looks like there's a discussion here about, Chapala and bringing stuff down. People are kind of answering each other's questions. I don't know if anybody has any specific, simple questions that we can answer, but I would say that, some of the positives, obviously, we're talking about the challenges here, but we, both Jonathan and I live here full time. So we have chosen to live here. So despite these challenges, we live here. Now, why is that? I find it to be a lot more enjoyable, personally. I find that there's a lot more freedom in different things that, another big thing is the cost of living. Now, you'll find that in, different cities, vary greatly. Okay. So Mexico City, Cancun is a good example. It's very expensive. And then there are other places that are very inexpensive. You go to a small pueblo, for instance, 30, 40 minutes from here, it's going to be very inexpensive. But I think that as far as cost of living goes, people usually end up at the end of the month, looking back at what they would spend per month in the United States. It's about maybe 1/3, I would say. I don't know what how did your calculations come out, Jonathan?
As far as cost of living?
Yeah, just all overall cost of living, when you put together your food and, gas and all that type of stuff. About what did it come out at the end of,
Okay.
once you moved here and were settled in compared to what it was in Arizona?
I need to update this and go back and do the calculations, but this is what I had determined. First of all, there are places in Mexico where you can live very, very inexpensively. To a lot of people's way of thinking, San Miguel might not be one of them. San Miguel, there's a little bit of a premium for living here. Still, I would say from living in the East Valley of Phoenix, Arizona, I discovered that I was saving about a third. Now, I don't think that figures in the fact that I'm taking advantage of the foreign earned income, exclusion, which gets me out of a lot of taxes. So it might even be more than that. But there are a number of reasons for that. First of all, if you're coming here to initially rent, depends on where you're coming from, but you're probably, I chose a really big place, unnecessarily big place that was about the same. You can find places that are about the same from where you come from, but for a lot of people, they're renting places a lot less expensively. As far as eating out, don't get the idea, unless you're going to be eating at the taco carts, which maybe some of you might do. I do that once in a while myself. That's really, really super cheap. You're used to hearing stories about people saying, oh, you can eat for $2. Okay, look, there's a lot of great restaurants here. You're not going to eat at $2 for them. Some of them, if you're eating dinner, you could be surprised at how little you pay. I am. But, still, like when Cecilia and I go out to sort of a mid-range nice restaurant, I mean, we're still paying somewhere in the vicinity of 400 or 500 pesos, which is in the vicinity of $30 to $40. But that's drinks, that's everything. There are places where you can spend more than that. There are places where you can definitely spend less than that. But here's what never happens. Like when I was living in Phoenix and I'd go on a date or I'd go to some really nice restaurant in Scottsdale, I would drop between $150 and $250. That never happens here. I'm sure there are places it's just not going to happen. So some of these exorbitant expenses that I would do once or twice a month, it doesn't happen here. And that figures in. Utilities figure in. Now you can get a phone here very inexpensively, and even one with a U.S. plan. So you're calling back and forth to the U.S. I'm presently paying $60. It would be $45 a month or less if it wasn't an iPhone. And I've got unlimited talk to the U.S. and to Mexico. Whether I'm in Mexico or the U.S., I'm paying $60 a month. And plus they even throw in wireless now, roaming wireless, a gigabyte a month. So there are a lot of great ways to save money here. What else am I missing, James, as far as like expenses? Your mic is muted again, man.
Sorry about that. I keep muting it. I'm muting it. Yeah. So no, I think that's right. I've had the same experience, and another example, like you said, that you go out with Cecilia for dinner, just to give people an idea. Like I remember, I went out to VC and Friends. VC and Friends is a local place. It's nice, and they have a live music there. It's kind of a lady that sings, and she has a band, and they have music, dancing, and stuff. It's really great. And on the weekends, it's full of people. Everybody's having fun. And I went there with a date, and I bought a bottle of wine and tapas and just some finger food. I forget what it was, nachos, or I can't remember what it was. And I think even 1 or 2 beers after that. And we were there from 9 p.m. and it was so much fun. We were dancing and stuff. It was 3 o'clock in the morning before we knew it. And that whole time, I remember my bill, including the cover, was like 650 pesos. So that is, you're talking about $35, something like that.
No, more than that.
More than that? Well, I mean, if it's at 17.
Okay, not much more than that. A little over $40.
Yeah.
So now that I think about it, my restaurant bill that I'm talking about is probably more like $25 to $30. Yeah.
Right. So it's pretty good. And if people have not been watching it, the peso has been dropping comparatively to the dollar, so that's making things even more inexpensive. We did have a question on there. Somebody asked if somebody was coming down to check out the area. That it was Sean. I'll read it right from him. He says he was thinking about going to Cozumel, Mexico, and on a first trip down to Mexico, how much money would you suggest to bring? He's also open to some other suggestions other than Cozumel. It really depends on, obviously that's what somebody's going to tell you, right? It depends on what you're going to do. But Cozumel, I'm actually not very familiar with the prices there. If it's anything like Cancun, which is close, then it's going to be one of the more expensive places to go. I mean, almost the same thing as if you're in a United States beach, Miami or something. I'm not sure about Cozumel. We do have a blog post on Borderless, and it was the challenges of challenges of moving to Mexico. I forgot the exact title. And we actually have somebody who is in the Borderless Society, and she wrote an article, and she lives in Cozumel. So that might be someone you want to connect with.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And anyways, I need a little bit more context as far as, how long are you thinking, whether it's a week or 3 months, or is that including rent? What, are you going to be, do you want to go out to clubs a lot, or do you just want to, stay home or stay in a hostel and only go to coffee shops? It can really vary greatly and depends on where you want to go. But yeah, Cozumel is an option. A lot of people in that, if you want to go somewhere in that area, there's a place called Holbox, which is HOLBO, Holbox. I'm not sure I think it might end with X. I'm not sure, but anyways, a lot of people are going there, and it seems to be a really up and coming area that a lot of people are really enjoying. So that might be something you want to look into. And Puerto Vallarta is a place that a lot of expats like to go, and Cabo and stuff. So also Puerto Escondido in Oaxaca. I have a friend who moved here to Mexico, and he came directly to Acapulco. That's where we met. And he ended up moving to Puerto Escondido, and he's been having a lot of fun down there. He enjoys it, and he hasn't been able to leave. So he really likes it. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jonathan.
No, I mean, I did have somebody contact me last week to say, hey, how much would you recommend bringing on a trip to San Miguel? Would $1,000 be enough? And I started really figuring it out, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I would probably end up spending a little more because I typically do, but for $1,000, you could probably rent for a week, no problem. Rent a place, and even in Centro, if that's what you like, and eat, and even getting a bus to and from the airport or something, and you should have no problem. Cozumel, I just don't know. I suspect you could do that. We got another question from Spin Marnie, is it? It says, we visited San Miguel de Allende for a few days. It was beautiful. What is the, okay, I get it. This keeps scrolling. Okay.
Okay, I get it.
We go.
I get it.
It keeps scrolling.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it's doing. So
here it is. What type of live music scene there? Any U.S. type rock, blues, or country players or venues? Mazatlan and the East Coast have lots. Look, Spin Marnie, it's mostly what you just described. U.S. type rock, blues. There is some country. Most of the music, it seems to me, that people play here ends up being U.S. type music. There are places you can go, Mexican bars, where they're playing, the banda and the more when you go to the place James was just talking about, which is a really great dance club in San Miguel, that's mostly Mexican music. They touch on a little American music, wouldn't you say, James?
Yeah, they have all kinds of music. Actually, they play the traditional. I don't know about traditional, but it's kind of dance infused traditional Mexican music. Also, other types of Latino music, salsa and reggaeton and stuff. And then they also play pop and some old classic rock sometimes. So yeah, for sure. It depends on the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sean CK is saying, just a week's trip. I'm interested in setting up my online business, so wireless connection is probably the most important concern. Thanks, guys. You wouldn't have any trouble here in San Miguel. I imagine Cozumel is the same, but you're going to have to find somebody who focuses on that. All right, Zebra, the solution seems to be for us to bring it all ourselves. However, it is a vehicle problem. As to finding someone to skirt the rules, I suppose it's possible, but the shipper won't do it. And if a shipper then says he can, turns out he fails, everything we own can be seized. This is what I was talking about. I know it's of little comfort to say that there are people out there who can help you when you're not sure. So you're where I was. I took months to plan this out. There is a lot of things can be done if you know someone, but I wouldn't trust everyone owned to someone we don't know. Okay, well then you're going to have to go the traditional route, which means you're going to spend a lot of money. And if you're open to doing that, you're going to just have to go with what the shipper says and find somebody else to help bring you down those other things. You're going to have to do the work necessary for that. I respect what you're saying. It's exactly how I felt. But after months and months of communicating with people here in San Miguel, I did find a person who was able to help me. And, you know, this idea of skirting the rules, it's something that when you're in the U.S., you're like, ooh, and here, it's a part of everyday life. No one even acts like it's a big deal at all. You know, when you go over, you're going to pay something, and the people at the border, generally speaking, are thinking themselves, look, we can work this out, you know. But again, I understand you could run into a lot of trouble, and I suppose it could be a situation in which if you find someone who can help you move stuff up across, you better be prepared for the possibility that maybe it doesn't work quite as smoothly as they think. And so that is a tough thing. It's a judgment call you're going to have to make. And I hope you find somebody who can help you. If you can't, you're going to have to go with the traditional shipper, do it by the book, and spend a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting to the end of this, but I hope that, you know, everybody, this was mostly used to test out, you know, I'm trying to set up these live events where we can do question and answer stuff. If I happen to be with somebody, I'm thinking I'm going to Chile here coming up in the next couple of days, and I'll be there for a few months. And, you know, when I can run across interesting people that might want to do a question and answer with the Borderless Network, I think that would be something that people would really get a lot of value out of, and things like that. So that's, you know, maybe some actual, you know, written out webinars, and, you know, when we have slides and all this type of stuff on specific topics, also have some things planned like that. So, you know, if there's any type of glitches or anything like that, please let me know about it. And, you know, I'm going to try to make this smooth and work well. And, you know, let me know how you like it. Let me know if, you know, if you want to see more of these, or if there's some reason that it's not up your alley or something like that. Obviously, when the other ones are going to be more well planned out. This one was kind of a last minute thing, just because honestly, I didn't want a whole lot of people on here if it didn't work out correctly as we're setting all these things up. But I hope you've enjoyed it. So I don't know if there's any other questions.
Yeah, let's do. Damien says, anyone for my question? It seems like we touched on it. Maybe we weren't doing very complete. It says, I live in New Orleans, so Mexico itself isn't that far. My thought was to drive to Mexico. My only concern, to be honest, is I have gold and silver. Well, didn't we talk about this? Was there another question? It's been almost 15 years since I was last time. Yes. I think we did talk about that, Damien. So I don't know if you missed that or what, but we just said, James made clear, you know, I moved with metals. I don't know. I don't think I had $10,000 worth, but it was in the bottom of my suitcase. That's what I was advised to do. No issue with that. James says you can even move with more than $10,000 worth of metals, but you have to fill out a form legally. It might be a matter of concern if you've got, you know, many thousands of dollars worth of metals. You might consider selling it, and oh, that's okay, Damien. You might consider selling it and then buying more here, finding a good location to purchase it here, if it's really that much. But I probably moved with, you know, maybe a few $1,000s worth or more, and I was comfortable just putting it in the bottom of my suitcase, and it was uneventful.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't know if there's anybody that has any more. We might be able to sneak another one in here. But if not, let's see. All right. Okay. Obviously, you have to contact us. I don't know. You know, a lot of people. I sent this post out to a lot of people, so you might not be aware of what we do. Jonathan and I have a podcast, Borderless Podcast, and you can get on our mailing list there, borderlesspodcast.com, borderlessblog.com. And we also have a membership site, borderlesssociety.com. So go check that out. We have lots of information on all this type of stuff, living and investing in different countries, and having location-independent income. So, you know, definitely do that. You can contact me on my Facebook. I've commented on the chat here. So I think you can just click that and you'll find my Facebook. Feel free to send me a private message there. Also, you know, get on the mailing list, and you know, we can communicate that way. So, you know, that's about it. I'm excited to start doing some live events and stuff. I want to see how this records. Supposedly this is supposed to record and then go on my YouTube, so I can then offer them later when we do specific talks on different things. And I'm going to put together presentations and stuff. So thanks everybody for joining us. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add, Jonathan?
Nope. Thanks very much, folks. This was fun. It looks like, more people joined than I thought with such little notice. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks everybody. And please stay in touch and we'll talk to you later.